Hello and welcome to Engine Adventures towing review of this 2023 Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. Again, we're using this trailer here, about 4,600-ish pounds. The tongue weight's about 450, just below the 10% mark, but pretty close. And it's actually reading almost 500 there, but not too far off. That's just how it stopped. You know, it kind of bounces whatever when we were stopping. But yeah, so the trailer profile, this trailer's not real big. Of course not at 4,600 pounds, but the profile here, this frontal area is quite large and nearly vertical. So you get a little bit of a slope to it, but this thing is not aerodynamic even a little bit. So it's pretty heavy tow. Once you get up at higher speeds, it provides a lot of wind resistance. As you can see here, using the CURT wireless brake controller again, because no built-in brake controller in this Tacoma TRD Pro. I don't think there is a factory option to get a brake controller there. So with these media vehicles, this is something I use if you're towing all the time. I recommend getting a real physical brake controller in the cab. Using this and with my phone, I haven't had any problems yet. I've been really surprised at how well it's been working, but you just never know when you're going to lose connectivity. You don't have the emergency brake feature of it where you can pull the trailer brakes and slow it down manually without using your truck brakes, but it still has the inertia brake systems, and it's pretty good actually. So the brake system, it detects how much the truck is trying to slow down from the accelerometer that's built into it, and the CURT thing actually, it works quite well. So you can see the truck squats quite a bit under load. It's got softer suspension. I don't really care for that. Squat isn't a measure of how stable a truck is or anything. I mean, in a little bit it is, because the more it squats, the softer the suspension is, but it really hasn't done too bad. I think really close to the Frontier, maybe just a hair more feedback from the trailer than you get in the Frontier. But yeah, this Tacoma, I've been pretty impressed with it. So 3.5 liter V6 and I don't know, less than 300 foot-pounds of torque, 270 something horsepower, I think. I'll put those numbers up on the screen. But the 6-speed auto, yeah, anyway, it seems to be searching for gears a little bit. All right, first thing, turn the sensors off, and you see, maybe you can't, but we'll see if we can get that to show up. See how the button stays recessed? So when you turn that off, it's off for good. You don't have to worry about turning it off every single time you back up. Something else I want to show you that's a little bit hard to see right now, just because of where it is. Here, let me pull forward. Okay, so you see where the ball is? Nice. See where the ball is? See where the line is? I keep touching it, sorry. They're not in line with each other. This camera's offset. Offset cameras are a stupid idea for any vehicle that is going to be towing. And you can see, so the line is on the left side of the trailer and the ball is on the right side of the trailer. So it doesn't line up at all. Really quite annoying. You can see how far, so the line showing the center of the vehicle is 3 inches off. And that's actually where it needs to be. Terrible design. Lots of companies have done it, are still doing it, some are not. Put the camera in the center and it makes this much easier to do. All right, let's show you the setup real quick. First, offset camera. So the center of the tailgate would be here, offset there. Totally messes up when you're trying to hook up. Sitting at, that's not right, so you give it a little sideways kick. Don't kick it up and down. side to side. It goes for any scale, a shoreline, way safe, whatever. Do side to side. And sitting just over 450, around 450 tongue weight. Chains were easy to hook up. I like these loops. Nice and easy to get the pin in. The receiver is underneath the bumper a little bit, so not as much as the Nissan where the fingers on this hitch or ball mount were hitting on the bumper. So not bad overall. Not a bad setup. I do really just wish the camera were in the center right there instead of offset. And you may have noticed the extension here for this Curt wireless brake controller that I'll be using today, and it's worked pretty well for me. So I'm gonna throw my phone right there on the charger, turn the charger on, and there you go. It's an easy, you have the trailer brake controller right there. You just have to reach forward, hit that button, you can see full brakes and let off no brakes. It's a really not a bad system at all. So you can see I'm turned just a little bit and you can't quite see down the side of the trailer. You can almost, but it doesn't have a lot of room. Another vehicle. We're gonna start going here. Okay. I did hit the ECT power button. That's kind of like the tow haul mode for Toyota. It'll hold the gears longer, rev it up a little bit. And it's okay. And yeah, anyway, this thing, you can hear it. It's pretty noisy, especially in the higher RPM. And not a ton of torque, but not too bad. So as far as power goes, it does feel a lot like the Frontier from last week. But we'll see how it does going up the steep hill. This part's just getting up to speed, but from here we'll be climbing a pretty steep hill. And yeah, hardly downshifting. See if we can hold right in this range. Frontier had a 9-speed, this has a 6-speed, so there's definitely a difference there. It's harder to find a gear and hold it. I might have to switch it into manual mode to hold that other gear. Because yeah, just same thing when you're on the freeway, whatever, in this thing, it always wants to upshift. It wants to upshift, it wants to upshift. It won't hold a gear very well. And that's exactly what I'm seeing here. The other problem is there's no trans temp gauge. So you can go through the information here and baby's loving this. Anyway, trying to go through all the information and there's just no other information as far as temps go. So the only temp you get is a coolant temp gauge. And with the transmission shifting this much, you just don't know what it's going to do. So it seems like the speed limit here is in between where I would like to be for gears. So we'll speed up just a hair and let's try it there. See if we'll shift, keep us at 3,000 RPM, and maybe that'll be a good climb. No, see, we're losing it already. So manual mode, we're going to hold third gear manually. No, we're not. Apparently we need to hold second gear, so we're gonna hold second gear. And that makes it a lot easier. Transmission's not shifting all the time. RPMs are a little higher, but that's not the end of the world. And pretty much every case, it's actually putting less stress on the engine. And then it's not shifting all the time, so there's less stress on the transmission. We'll go up a gear because we're in a level spot for a second, and then we'll go back down a gear. And you can see the snow melt off here on the road, but it should be much better conditions than we had in the Frontier, where up top it was still completely covered. And as far as stability goes, I've felt slightly more bouncing or input or anyway response from the trailer in the Frontier, sorry, in this Tacoma than I did in the Frontier. So the Tacoma is just slightly less stable, and this is the TRD Pro version, the off-road setup, suspension, so it's going to be a little bit softer. And payload on this is 990, a little bit lower than what we had on the Frontier. So we're here at the top. Let's see what the roads are like. And the Frontier probably could have done the extra little loop, but it was so snowy on the road I didn't want to end up getting stuck and blocking the road because it was so narrow, basically the width of a single snowplow. And yeah, anyway, I didn't want to get into all that pain. One thing I've noticed is the radio's frozen, so I can turn up the volume, but I can't change the station or anything. It's just stuck on this. So if I go to the knob over here, not sure why, even in the audio setting, if I go through it, it doesn't change anything. So for some reason the infotainment audio portion of the infotainment screen is frozen up. Much better conditions today than we had with the Frontier a week ago. Yeah, this was all covered in snow, so should be okay to do this extra little section here, and you can see the whole valley out. We basically climbed from the valley floor down there, which you can't really see because the snowbank's so high. There you go. We basically climbed from that valley floor down there all the way up to here in less than 10 miles. So it's a pretty good climb. Sections 8-10% grades. I think the overall average is like 8.5. So far so good. Fuel mileage, I was at 18.1, 18.2, it's down to 14.9. And I put, let's see, 90 miles on it before this, and 15 while towing so far. And we got a car coming the other way that there is not enough room for. So this ought to be good. Thanks. Anyway, so whatever that works out to be, we're getting probably around 10 miles per gallon right now, and not great, but not terrible for this trailer. This trailer's such a big, broad, flat face that if you watched any of my other videos, you know this trailer gets worse fuel mileage than any other trailer I've towed, and that includes some in the 14, 15, and even up to 20,000 pounds, just because there's so much wind resistance. If you're driving this at freeway speeds, it gets worse gas mileage than those much heavier trailers. If you know the speeds we've been going 40, 50 miles an hour, it's not as big of a deal, but when you're up 60, 70, then it's definitely, it makes a huge difference because of the wind resistance. Going downhill, this is one of the steeper sections, and because there's so much wind resistance, it holds speed fairly well, but it's stable. You know, these are turns that are, you know, fairly sharp for the speed, whatever. And the Tacoma's not bad at all. It's actually doing much better than I thought it would do, and just based off of previous experience. Going uphill, it did definitely shift too much trying to stay in the top gear, but downhill, it's actually not doing too bad. It doesn't seem to grade shift very well, so I hold my foot on the brake, and doesn't really downshift because it's not really a normal tow haul mode. And I think if it were programmed a little differently, that it would downshift a bit quicker. So I'm gonna stop here in just a minute and we'll see how well it does do the grade braking or downshifting using the engine braking when you're going downhill. We're almost to that spot. Okay, my foot's on the brake. and no grade braking. It's not downshifting at all. So if you want to do engine braking, you've got to manually do that. And like I said, this trailer has just so much rain resistance that it doesn't necessarily need a lot of grade braking at these kinds of speeds, but it would be nice to have that option on the Tacoma either way, even if this trailer doesn't need it. So I didn't have the camera running. We're not on a super steep spot right now, and really the engine braking is not great on this thing, which is kind of expected. When you get these engines that have more horsepower than torque, that means they have to be pretty high revving and don't have a ton of engine compression maybe, or anyway, they just don't seem to slow down as well, or engine brake as well as vehicles with bigger engines with more torque than horsepower, just because the RPM range and all that stuff. It did okay. It held the speed. It slowed me down maybe a little bit, but it really wasn't that effective. I would say the Frontier was a little more effective than the Tacoma. Hopefully the wind's not too bad, but thank you for watching Engine Adventures review of this 2023 Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. It did quite well. Better than I expected, actually. It would be nice to have a few more gears in the transmission or have more torque. I was up. It likes to upshift all the time, so any chance it gets, it'll upshift, and it requires you to use the manual mode or sport mode or whatever to hold the gears, but it doesn't do bad. I mean, if you hold the gears on your own, it does a good job. It's just the truck's not going to do things for you. So it has an ECT power mode, but no tow haul mode. So there's no grade braking or anything when you're going downhill. Again, that's a manual shift by the driver to control the speed, which isn't a big deal for me. That's, you know, sometimes I prefer that anyway. That way I get the vehicle to do what I want it to do and not what it wants to do. Yeah. Anyway, here, compared to other vehicles, it is missing some of those features, but as far as stability and stuff, I didn't have any problems. Just a tiny more feedback from the trailer. Really not bad overall. If you liked what you saw, be sure to hit subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications, give me a thumbs up, and post a comment down below. If you didn't like what you saw, same thing, subscribe, give me a thumbs down, and let me know why. Let me know what you want to see different, and I'll be sure to try and include any changes that I see relevant in the next videos. Thanks again. Have a great day.